Good morning. Happy Friday. Good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us. You are tuning in to Tisha Talks Live at 10:45. So great to be with you. And a happy early Valentine's. This is a show, of course, right before Valentine's. So I've got to sport the glasses. Even Erin, my guest, is sporting the red today. So happy early Valentine's. I hope you get to spend it with all your loved ones. And today I have a special treat. Erin is coming on and she's going to be talking about freedom as a business owner. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, this is a conversation you really don't want to miss because we're going to be setting you up for success and talking about exit strategies and so on. But before we get started, I'd like to give a couple of announcements. If you're in the Phoenix area, I have a couple of events coming up. First up is Connecting Through Community. This is an event where I team up with local nonprofits here in the Arizona, Phoenix metro area and lend a hand. I bring kids, I bring my family, I bring my friends, and we just do something good for the community. So we're teaming up with Midwest Food Bank on Tuesday, February 27th at 5 p.m. I'll send more details out as we keep going through the weeks here. But that's something that's first come, first serve. If you want to go ahead and support our local nonprofit, then please do. We'll be packing bags for the homeless. Always so good to be able to teach your kids about giving back as well and paying it forward. All right, next up. You've got Social Connect Phoenix, Social Connect Simplified, I should say, that's coming up on March 27th. It is a Wednesday from 4 to 6. If you are not yet connected with me, join me at socialconnect.world. It's a community, an online community I started through Heartbeat. And that's a place where you can go ahead and introduce yourself, get to know people. There's a whole member directory, all sorts of cool things. It's also where I'm communicating all of these events, such as Connecting Through Community and also Social Connect Simplified. Well, you know how we like to do it on Fridays. We love to start off with a little dance party, get you in the mood, loosen you up for the weekend. So I will be right back. Stay tuned, and I'll have Erin coming on soon. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that little dance party. We even have some comments coming through. We have some people on LinkedIn joining us. Hello, welcome. If you are tuning into this on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, welcome. Hello. And yes, please comment, share where you're from. If you have questions throughout this live broadcast, make sure to ask those. Also, if you are catching the replay, as most do, go ahead and ask us those questions. We still see those questions, and Erin and I can also comment. So before we bring Erin in, let's say hello to, hey, it's Royce Blake. Yay, Tisha. Thanks for being on, Royce. He's such a great friend and a fan of Tisha Talks and is here every single Friday with us. Thanks, Royce, for being here. Please ask questions, like I said, and let's go ahead and bring in our special guest. Let's get situated here. This is Erin Nevicosi. She's here in the Chandler area, and she is with Terra Firma Business and Financial Consultant. She's the Director of Membership, and she's talking to us today about freedom as a business owner. And let me tell you, I know a lot of entrepreneurs that really struggle with that, Erin. So I'm so happy that you've decided to join me and be my special guest this pre-Valentine's Day show.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Tisha.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right. So, Erin, talk to us a little bit about how you got into this role, because I know you've had a varied past. You were talking about working in PR. You worked even for another content writing company. So how did you land at Terra Firma?
Yeah, the short version. I did start my career. Actually, I started my career as a tourism blogger in Milwaukee. And I got featured in all sorts, like USA Today, National Geographic Traveler. I got to go out and do fun things around Milwaukee and blog about it. And way back in 2005, that was very new. So it got a lot of attention, and that landed me my first job at a PR agency. I was a marketing director for a restaurant group. And then I went out on my own because, like many of us, I wanted that freedom for myself as I was having my kids. And Had some really good success in direct sales and then in coaching. My family moved to Arizona in 2020 from Wisconsin. And I got back into the corporate world. The whole thing with direct sales made me realize that I love sales and business development and making connections with people. So I was able to come on board with a content agency doing business development. And I was connected with a coach there, Joe. Shout out to Joe. And he just had such an impact on my life, like few people did. Just the accountability and the things I learned from him, it was wonderful. And so I worked at a couple different agencies, and he and I stayed in touch. And now he is a partner in Terra Firma, and we're launching a new part of the company called the Free Founder. And he's like, "Hey, you should come work with me." And I was like, "Heck yes, I want to come work with you." And so just getting to work with him every day and build something new has been very exciting.
I love it. All right. Is this Joe who's tuning in? Or
Maybe.
is this a different Joe?
Oh, Arioto?
Well, yes, that's him. He says, "Love your glasses, Tisha." Yay, thanks. Dollar Tree.
Nice.
Hey, you got to go festive when you're on shows, especially before a holiday.
Heck
That's
yeah.
what I say. So I have the whole Christmas hat, Christmas glasses, Valentine's hat, all this fun stuff. I love that. I love that, Erin, that a lot of times too, like things you've done in your past come back full circle, and the people that you worked with in the past still come back to you. And it's such a beautiful feeling. It's why you don't burn bridges. It's why you don't like discount all the stuff that you've done. Like it's all part of you. It's all part of your experience.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I can say the same thing too. Like I think I mentioned I'm working for my brokerage because I have my real estate license, but he's like, "But you have such a great skill. Like you do things that realtors don't do." And I'm like, "True."
There you go.
So it became an opportunity that I had no idea was coming. And it's so fun to see all of that come to fruition for all the hard work you've put in all those years. Good stuff. All right, well, let's dive into this discussion because I think, I've been in business for 20 years, Erin, and I know that I meet a lot of entrepreneurs that are coming up with so many challenges that they don't actually have freedom as a business owner. I feel like a lot, and I'm going to come out and say it. Like I was one of those girls that was like strapped to the desk, ate my lunch at my desk, warmed up my coffee 5 times. Like, you're like, I might as well make it iced coffee because it's pretty ridiculous that I've warmed it up this many times. But you get into this entrepreneurship, freedom. I can go to the gym and walk, and do all these things. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I'm working way more than I ever thought I would. I don't have the luxury, the life that I want. I don't get to see my kids because I'm constantly, my clients rule my life. So tell us about some of the biggest challenges that you see when people are trying to find that freedom as a business owner.
Yes. Well, that is exactly it. Business owners go into business because they are freedom-minded and they have this vision for their life that they can create something that's all their own. They can grow it. They can make an impact, and they can create this lifestyle and this life for themselves, that they really want. But what they find is that instead they have put themselves in a cage because they've created a business that is completely dependent on them. And they're doing it all. They're wearing all the hats. They're doing the business development, the fulfillment of services, the marketing, the finance, everything. And I mean, this is okay when you're just starting out. We understand that for a time that the hustle part of it is part of the journey, but at some point it's not sustainable. And so the biggest challenge is that there's this gap between the vision they set out for themselves and the reality that they're living, but they don't know how to get out of it. They don't know how to remove themselves from that cage they put themselves in.
I was in a cage for years. And I will say that whole phrase of work smarter, not harder applies to every single one of us. I know when you're getting started, you're like, I don't really have the means to go ahead and hire the people, to have the team, to delegate. But it is honestly the best thing you can do for yourself, because if you don't, what happens? Your whole business rules you. You don't get the freedom that you're looking for. So one of the best things I started doing was not very good at that, but other people are. I'm going to go give that to them because I know what my strength is. I know I love being out networking. I know I love being a people person and talking to people. And that's where clients come from. That's where relationships. It does me no good to sit here and try to create something for you on Canva when I'm not very good at it in the first place.
Absolutely. And you're so smart. And so many don't see that. Like
No.
we will hear, well, nobody can do it like I can. But it's like, actually, there are plenty of people out there who can do 90% or 80% of what you're doing. You just don't want to loosen the grip on that. But it's
Yeah.
like, what can you be doing that only you can do? Like, really examine that. What do you love to do? And if you do start delegating, what will that free you up to do more of that will have the biggest impact? So that really is what needs to happen. But again, most business owners, especially your first business, you've never done this before. You're kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And so it's like, okay, I know I need to bring on help, but who do I start with? Like, do I start with a marketing person or a business development person or an account exec? Like, what does that look like? So obviously having help with those decisions is important. But the biggest, I guess, challenge here too that we see is we talk about flying by the seat of your pants. You're just kind of figuring it out as you go and you're like, now I need help. But when you hire someone and try to plug them into something where there's no systems or processes documented in any way, you're kind of telling this person like, here, figure it out. Like, you don't know me or my company that well yet, but I
Yeah.
want you to excel in your position and help me grow my business. So what they can do instead is take the time. And again, that can be hard. You're wearing all the hats, you're putting out all the fires, but like to take a step back and think, how do I do things? How do I say things? What are my processes? Start documenting those things. Another good suggestion is, you're doing the business development. How are you bringing on those new clients and customers? Record your sales calls, see how you say things, and what is the process for signing up a new client. Once
Yeah.
you have those in place, then you can plug somebody in and set them up for success. So I think that's a really good start to, taking a little bit of the burden off you as the owner.
I love those tips. So we have some chat going on here in our comment line. So Bruce Carnahan is joining us. Hey, Bruce.
Hi,
Said
Bruce.
he also loves the glasses. He says it's all about the simplification first to make those processes better, and then you will free up time and speed. And you're right. Like I've often heard that phrase that you need to slow down to speed up. And you absolutely do. You need to kind of take it in bite-sized pieces and figure out, like you said, the systems. I was sharing with Erin in the green room, everybody, that I'm getting ready to start a business. And I've already delegated to a couple of the women what I know their strengths are. And they're like, yep, that is totally me. But we're all learning the same things. We are all learning. So in the event that one person can't, the other one can pick it up. It's not, oh, it's on her, she's slacking. No, all of us have responsibility. We're all in this business together instead of just, oh, nope, that's their role. It's not mine. Sorry.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to be well versed and just in all areas of your business instead of just, I only do this one thing and that's not my problem.
Right. Very smart.
Very smart. All right. I want to bring up a question too, Erin, before we head into some others. But I mentioned to you earlier that a lot of people haven't really figured out an exit strategy. And I feel like that's a question that I know when I was starting in business, I already kind of was envisioning like, oh my gosh, like here's my big vision for the company. And this is when I'm getting out of the company. And this is my goal. And this is what I hope. And I meet so many people, especially solopreneurs, that really haven't. They're like, I think I mentioned to you that, one of my good friends who's a solopreneur had said, like, my funeral is the day of my retirement party. And it was the saddest thing. I was like, I'm so sorry. That sounds horrible. So the day you die is the day we should throw a party because it's also your retirement. What? No. And every time I ask people about exit strategies, they just don't have an idea. They don't have a clue. They're like, I'm working till I die. And I'm like, that doesn't sound too good. So talk to me about that. Like, how would you work with someone in a company of kind of just defining what that exit strategy looks like and how to get them there? Because it's all about planning and putting that plan in motion and taking the action steps to actually get there, find the freedom, retire, sell out, leave it to your kids. Like, there's so many things you can be doing with your company.
Yeah. And it really is about just having that awareness in the beginning of what do I want? Like you said, most don't even consider it, but like if you don't consider it, you've really just created a job for yourself
Yeah.
with no like instead of an asset that you want to grow and then eventually do something powerful with. So we were talking before, and it's like, even if you are just starting out, like you've been in business just 3 years or 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
still just knowing maybe I want to sell in 20 years or 30 years, or my kids, I want to pass it off. Like we're
Yeah.
seeing with the boomer generation, like all these businesses that these kids are saying, nope, I don't really want your business.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so, I mean, facing realities like that and realizing that maybe what you plan for your company won't be what you face down the line, but to set yourself up for success, like to have a business that someone wants to inherit or someone wants to actually buy, knowing what makes a valuable company and how to increase that value along the way so that when the time comes, you'll be able to sell it, you'll be able to exit it and live your life, that like live out this vision that you created for yourself. So you do have to think long term like that. So our company is called The Free Founder,
Mm-hmm.
and we are all about helping business owners find that freedom, even begin just thinking about that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So we use something called the Value Builder System, super powerful, proven system. Because again, people don't even know where to start. They don't, they don't know where to go. And so when we like to quote Tony Robbins, success leaves clues. Like find someone who's
Mm-hmm.
had success and then follow what they do. So the Value Builder System was created by this guy, John Warrillow. He built a book called Built to Sell, or he wrote a book, Built to Sell. And he has a podcast called Built to Sell. It's a top 10 business podcast. And he works with companies to help them increase that value so they can sell for a great price. Because the statistics show that more than 3 out of 4 business owners, after they sell, they regret it. They realize they maybe rushed it or they didn't get the price that they really wanted for it. So how can you come at it from a more powerful standpoint? So that's what we
Mm-hmm.
help owners do, is know the value of their company now, realize where they're kind of lacking and where they maybe won't get what they want for it, and then work with them to help increase the value over time,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can put that plan in place to sell.
I really like that. I want to go to our comments here. Joe, this is really good. To me, this is like the best tip. You see this in all the business books. You got to begin with the end in mind. Absolutely, you do. You have to think big vision and then back it up. Like, how am I going to get there? And then Royce even saying, taking time to document your process, which you were talking about earlier, Erin, will not only make your life easier, it's vital if you ever want to sell it.
Yeah.
So true. It's just like we were saying, if you already have everything documented, that's worth its weight in gold. Somebody doesn't want to reinvent the wheel. They want to say, what has worked for you? I'm just going to go in. It's just like taking over from where you left off, right? It's not having to reinvent. It's not having to start from scratch. It's like everything is in there. It's why you see a lot of these. A good friend of mine, actually, she's a chiropractor, and she picked up a book of business. And the woman just, it was flawless. It was like she had all our customers in there. She had the building. It was just such an easy transition to say,
Yep.
hey, here you go. Business in a box, already done for you. And she was happy to take it. And she started off success. Like it wasn't like, oh, I just bought this failing business. I don't know what she did. I don't know what her systems are. I don't know how she followed up with people. Like now I have to figure it out for myself, but it was just seamless. And I think that that's what companies want if they're going to take it over. I do have to say though, Erin, too, that you said like a lot of kids don't want to take over their parents' business. And I think it's so important to have that discussion instead of assuming. Don't ever assume, hey, so you want to be in marketing too?
Yeah.
My daughter's like, no, I want to be a vet.
Oh, fun.
But I never assume that my kids want to do what I do.
No.
And some of them are like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So you're right. Like having those honest conversations with your family, because I do think a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to take over the family business. In your thoughts, you are. In your mind, yes, but not for me. Not for me.
Exactly. And so, we've been talking about the one challenge when it comes to your friend that you talked about, like seamless, successful,
Mhm.
like she probably wouldn't have bought the business at all
Nope.
if those things were not in place. And so we've been talking about one of those areas where like the
Mhm.
business is totally dependent on the owner. So a buyer
Oh,
isn't going to be able to come in and then take that and then replicate your success because you can't duplicate you. So when it comes to the value builder system, we talk about how there's 8 key drivers and one is called hub and spoke. And if you are the owner, you are the hub, everything else is the spoke. So if you take you out of it, that wheel isn't turning anymore. So
mhm.
you hope to sell one day, that's a serious problem. But then again, that's only one area. There's actually 7 more areas. And we like to say like you don't know what you don't know. And so often business owners will take a peek inside Value Builder, or they'll take the Value Builder questionnaire, which we'll talk about. And they're like, I didn't even consider that. I never
Mhm.
even thought about that. So even just the awareness is so powerful. So things like your financial performance, like what does your revenue look like, your profit margin, your cash flow, your bookkeeping, like you talk about documenting things. So many people flying by the seat of their pants when it comes to that. And if you're not doing due diligence,
Mhm.
your company is not valuable.
Yeah.
How unique is your offering? Are there 100 competitors out there that are totally identical to you? Like that's going to hurt your pricing ability and even just winning business. I mean, there's all kinds of them. So it's a lot to consider.
I love that. I especially love that hub and spoke analogy that you shared because you're right. If I left the company, would it still survive without me? And you've said it, like so many of us have dug a hole for ourselves that we're like, we can't leave the company. It is me. I
Yep.
can't get out. Nobody else can do it like me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrong kind of thinking. Wrong kind of thinking. All right. So Bruce has talked about process. Like Bruce is a total process guy. I think we all know
Yeah.
that. He says, I love to use checklists to capture the process documentation. We use this in LinkedIn Local East Valley Phoenix and have duplicated this in the UK with at least one group. Absolutely. If you can get your process down, how easy is it to duplicate in other areas or in other businesses? It just makes it's just, I mean, all of you have said it. It makes life so much simpler if you just step back and you take the time and you do it right the first time instead of always trying to reinvent it. And I should have just written all that down before.
Yes. Yes. And you can get help from someone like Bruce or like we're not good at everything. So take the time, invest the resources to do it right. Someone
Mhm.
who's been there and paved the way, like so that again, you can thrive.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit, Erin? You mentioned hub and spoke, but you said there's 8 different areas in this value finder. Can you share like maybe a couple? Give us a couple of
Yeah.
ideas. Tease us a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I hit on some of them, but then so those are the ones you think of. Like when someone says like, oh, I want to grow the value of my company, they're immediately going to think, well, I need to get more clients and I need to have more profit. And of course that's important.
Right.
But there's so many other things too. So I hit on how unique is your product. Like we call that monopoly control. The less competition you have, the
Hmm.
more you're going to be able to charge high prices and win new business. So
Right.
maybe like focus on one niche. That's a lot of people just go really broad. So how
Right.
can we help you tailor your niche? How much of your revenue is recurring? Um,
Mm.
Typically, like we see subscriptions, and it's been pretty focused on specific industries, but now companies are realizing there are so many opportunities to get recurring revenue going. If you have
Hmm.
no recurring revenue in your business and you're constantly hustling month after month to
Hmm.
sell products or services, like that's not sustainable. Like it's
Hmm.
going to be an absolute roller coaster. So how can you
Hmm.
introduce recurring revenue into your business? One is called the Switzerland structure. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
If you look at your client base and one client is responsible for 40-50% of
All.
your revenue, talk about not being able to sleep at night. If something happens completely out of your control, you can deliver the best service, but you don't know if budgets are going to be cut or your contact gets let go or whatever it is. If you lose that client, you're in trouble. So how can you diversify that to make sure that you have enough clients to be supporting your cash flow? Same with vendors and employees. We talked about how you're being very
Yeah.
smart with your new company so that all of you know at least a little bit about how to do each thing so that
Hmm.
if one person gets sick or goes on vacation or leaves for another opportunity, you're not left scrambling
Right.
because no one knows how to do that person's job. So just being not overly reliant on one person or client is a huge one. Um, Growth potential, like this can be a little hard, harder to measure. It's not as black and white, but like
Uh-huh.
a buyer is going to look at, yes, the success you've created, but can they replicate that, or can they grow into new markets or new service offerings to not only just sustain the business, but grow the business? And then another one that's obviously so important is like, how satisfied are your customers and clients? Every
Yeah.
business owner wants to think like, oh yeah, my customers are so happy, but is there proof of that? Do you have testimonials? Do you have reviews online? We talk about the net promoter score. What is your net promoter score? The value builder will walk you through getting that. So you have really good data on your customer satisfaction level, because a buyer is going to want to see that.
Yeah, I love that. I'm very big into getting those testimonials always.
You're good
And
at that for sure.
well, and Thursdays, I'm like, well, now I already have the content because it's a Thankful Thursday kind of post. And I'm not talking about how great I am. They're talking about it. And it's so easy for me to share what they share. And I'm tickled by it. I'm like, oh, so
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah.
awesome. All right. We have a couple of people that have given us some comments. Joe saying, Bruce Carnahan, checklists are so crucial. It takes the guesswork out of the process. Think like a pilot. They follow their checklist every single time, not because they don't know what to do. They just aren't going to rely upon their brain to remember. We can model that as entrepreneurs. I love that. I really do. And then Bruce saying, Erin, here's a good question for you, Erin, as we're kind of wrapping this up. What is the most recurring mistake you see biz owners making in their value proposition?
So this is probably the journalist and the content marketer in me, but I think it's not being unique enough, and that is one of the 8 key drivers. If you are using language like all of your competitors, and Bruce is the guy in the blue shirt. He's memorable, like he's standing out. He has found a way. He's the process guy. Like when you think of Bruce, that's what you think of.
Yep.
So do you and your company have that as well? Like when you think of this company's name, you know exactly what they're known for, what they're really good at, what their mission is. So I would say getting very clear on messaging and not talking like everyone else. Because if you do, you're just going to blend in. And why would someone choose you over someone else unless they're choosing the company solely for you as the business owner? And I talk about that a lot. Like humans connect through stories. We do business with people who we know, like, and trust.
Right.
So to some extent, you as the business owner, you are going to be the magnet that attracts clients. But that's, again, where it's important to put those things in place so that that's not all dependent on you.
Right.
But at some point, it needs to go beyond you. It needs to be, what is the message of this brand that differentiates me from everybody else?
I love it. Good stuff. All right, Erin, tell us a little bit about how people can find you. I know you're working on the Free Founder, so talk to us about that, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yes, I would love for you to follow me on LinkedIn. I post almost daily. We did just officially launch the Free Founder. We discovered Value Builder, and we are just all in on Value Builder. It is just so powerful. More than 70,000 companies have gone through this system with great success to just increase the value of their company. So you can find us at thefreefounder.com. And when you're there, you can go to the Value Builder tab and take your free questionnaire. And of course, there's ways after that to engage with us. But the thing is, you don't have to. We talk a lot about the awareness and the knowledge. Just having that info is so powerful. Like Joe just said, start with the end in mind. It's like when you're going on a trip, it's very important to know where you're going. And most business owners do have a vision of where they want to get. But the other most important part is where you're starting from. And so many business owners aren't aware of where they are now, value-wise, in these different areas. So that's what the Value Builder questionnaire will provide you. It takes less than 15 minutes. You answer the questions there. And when you're done, you will have a score out of 100. And again, you'll get to see how you rank among 70,000 other small businesses that have gone through this. The average score is 59. So it's, is yours lower than that, higher than that? And then in addition to that, you'll get individual scores on each of those 8 key drivers. So, I mean, just right there in black and white, you take your bottom 3 scores and you're like, okay, these are the areas that I really need to work on. And so it will give you ideas for what you can start doing to improve those scores. There's a full report we can share with you, but it's some really great information to know where you're starting from.
That sounds very valuable, especially I would say like a good service to work with is like a business broker, because I'm assuming that they're trying to go into businesses and trying to figure out what the valuation is of that company so they can sell the company. So
totally.
perfect.
We love to talk. I just want to say one more thing on that quick.
Yeah.
Because we are in talks with several business builders. And what is so amazing about Value Builder is that it walks you through 12 modules, one on each of these. And not only does it teach you things, but it helps you implement. It will give you exercises and tools to actually put these things in place in your business. The data has shown that just 8 months, businesses increase their score by about 18%. And if you can get your score up to 90, which if you keep at it, you will get it there, you will actually double the value of your company. And so if you might have gotten a $2 million offer, now you're probably going to get a $4 million offer. Like, it can be worth so much if you can just focus on increasing those scores. So
that sounds pretty amazing to me.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got some love coming in. Joe saying, Erin is amazing. Thanks for having her on. You know, Joe, as soon as I saw her post that she was with your company, I always look for entrepreneurs or business professionals who can share some really great things, great tips for entrepreneurs, because that's my target market. I'm always working with solopreneurs and entrepreneurs. So yeah, thank you so much, Erin, for being on. Great stuff. I have tons of clips because you shared so much wisdom and value. And I think it's important. Like, we've never talked about this on Tisha Talks, about what is the value of your company and how do you increase the value with some different tips that you can implement right now, because so many of us are like, I think this is what my company is worth. Well, why not figure it out? Why not try and increase the value of it and get those processes in place before you actually sell or exit to have more, what do we call it? Freedom. So some great tips, Erin. Thank you so much for being on Tisha Talks Live and sharing all about how we can have freedom as business owners. I am like all for it. Like, I am so happy to be, I told you, like, I'm almost off the roller coaster, and it's so nice to have that exit strategy and that freedom coming. And honestly, like, I feel like I already have the freedom. Yeah, we've shared this. Like, I'm like, I'm not strapped to the desk anymore. I'm taking vacations. Like, I have 2 big vacations planned for this year. And it just feels good to know that I have freedom and the company still goes. Like, it's still going.
You've been smart. That's great.
Yeah, smart. Working smarter. Good stuff.
Mm.
All right. Well, next Friday, I've got my good friend Mary Thane Brandt. She's coming on to talk about all the things you need to know about AI. She just got her AI certification. So if you were trying to figure out, what is this AI? What's this chat GPT thing? You know, she's going to come on and talk to us all about that. And I hope you'll tune in. As always, you can always catch these on YouTube. They're also on LinkedIn and on Facebook on my profile. And yeah, thanks so much for being here. Happy early Valentine's Day. And we will catch you back next Friday. Have a great weekend. And thanks so much to all of our guests who tuned in live and who are watching the replay. And thanks to you, Erin, for being on with me.
Thanks, Tisha. Bye.
Bye.